Then I introduce myself and I
Okay.
introduce...
Hello and welcome to another Finding Voices podcast.
Alex is here.
Tom Wheeler.
And Eugene Wasowski Gallagher, and today we have our special guest.
Ayo Adesanya. Hello.
Yeah.
Today on the podcast we are going to talk about a variety of things, but first we're going to recollect what we did just a few hours previously in Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner is world famous for being a free speech zone. It's usually frequented by very religious types who will chat about at any length about religion, and we kind of offered the people who go to watch the speakers a bit of a fresh alternative to today by talking about self-acceptance, stammering, and in my case, why you should not masturbate.
Yeah, well, we all did speeches on the Speaker's Corner today, and when I was going there, I was had only one thing in mind: is self-actualization. Because we've been talking so much about it, like recently on the chat, I guess it's the hottest topic right now, and we getting hit for that as well, but.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to this corner, and I spoke out of my 3 speeches I gave. 2 of them was was just warm me up. I did improvise, and the things that bothered me kind of came out. On my 3rd speech, I was able to control, and I was able to focus on the right things.
For me, self-actualization actualization is what I'm really big on. Self-acceptance, just a fancy word for it. And going to Speaker's Corner was a challenge for me, stepping outside of my comfort zone, really mixing it up with fluent speakers and really strong speakers who really like to dominate. So stepping into that arena helped me along my journey of accepting myself as a stammerer, but letting myself know that I can compete with people like that.
How would you compare the Speaker's Corner environment with that of, say, Toastmasters?
There's no
Have you been to Toastmasters?
comparison. Yes, I have. Toastmasters is really good, but Speaker's Corner is real action, it's real life, it's challenging. You get heckled at, you get asked questions. People pick you up on stuff if you're not talking real sense. It's maybe difficult at times, but that's what we need to develop our speech for the long term.
I think really the biggest thing that makes Speaker's Corner better than Toastmasters is the fact that you can do it at any time. There isn't a specific location in a room with people who are there to give you the time of day to speak. You just rock up on a Sunday between the hours of 10 in the morning till sunset. I mean, even now people will be speaking in Speaker's Corner probably about the same topics they do week in, week out, which is just mostly religion. I mean, I think we all can agree that it gets quite boring if you listen to most of the preachers out there.
What I'm planning to do is to go there every other week, pick a topic, stick to it, and practice my speech.
Also, I would recommend that you give heckling other preachers a go, because actually trying to catch them and make them listen to you is quite difficult. I did a speech a while ago when I first went to Speaker's Corner in the summer, and I was heckled many times because when you're arguing against masturbation, you face stiff competition. You face very stiff competition, and what I felt was that it was quite difficult to ignore someone who was literally no further than I am from you,
Yeah.
Eugene. It's like saying, "Oh no, 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 shut up, shut up, shut up." It's quite difficult, and that's challenging. That puts you in a very hot spot, in a very difficult situation, because you want to just be like, fluent speech, go, "No, please leave me alone," and everything like that. But what you have to do is restrain yourself and be very disciplined.
Definitely.
So, I have a question, because I didn't get to join you for Speaker's Corner. Did you basically rock up with some type of crate and then just stand on it?
A chair. Yeah.
Did you gather any crowds, or
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah.
but did you just stand on the crate and then start speaking and the crowds came?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yes.
Yes.
did you go around and tell people we're going to do speaking?
The layout, so how it works in Speaker's Corner is anyone
Yep.
of any vocation, background,
Mm.
creed, whatever, can simply bring an object which he can stand on. In this case, we brought a chair, which is over there, and you simply stand up and announce to the area,
Mm.
and it could be you're speaking to no one,
Yeah.
but you're doing a speech and needs to start speaking, and people, regardless of what you're talking about, will stop and listen, because the whole point of it is that you just pay attention to whatever the hell the person's saying.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm sorry I missed it then.
No, it's every
Come.
Sunday.
It was really good.
Paying attention to whatever we were saying.
Mm.
That's true. I want to defend Toastmasters. well, we gave speeches today in a non-judgmental speech environment. Really, no one judged us on how we sounded.
Mm.
We sounded good. We did sound good. Maybe too good. Right? No one judged us on that. Toastmasters would help to break us down, as we did
That's true.
True.
in the middles, right? And Speaker's Corner, in a way, it's a
Easy.
comfort zone.
I would
Because-
say so.
People expect you to standing on a chair and to say like whatever you're saying. Most people, I mean, I was looking for someone to say something like nice speech, funny.
I can agree with that to some extent, because Toastmasters is really technical, and if your speech is bad, they will let you know. Speaker's
Yeah.
Corner, if your speech is bad, they tend to just walk away or just not get distracted by the phone and not pay attention, and you still speak.
Mm.
So it has its, it's different.
I noticed that I had to make a disclosure just to tell people that I start. I think if I wouldn't tell people that I start over there, 99 would never know.
Yeah. I think it.
And even I was blocking a bit, and still they would not notice.
Because fluent people block as well.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
We just call it stammering.
Oh,
They call
I
it
think
Well, I think
think-
that's more of a
it's a special
Technicality.
topic.
Yeah.
That's
we have
another
to make
issue.
another podcast about
It's
like
a-
why we block and how.
more
it's more that fluent speakers stammer in the same high-stress environment.
yes. I
But
agree.
we speak better than a fluent speaker in a high-stress environment like that.
We should do it.
Because we're used to managing our fear,
with Maguire.
and that is just more of
Because
the
we got
same.
training.
Yes.
While a fluent speaker, this is a new scenario. So
That's very
That-
true.
that's- that's probably why people wouldn't notice you stammering during public speaking, but they would if you behave the exact same way, speaking face to face. It would be considered stammering.
Yeah, but
But
yeah,
that might be.
Toastmasters is not really for anyone with any speech impediments. It's for those fluent, how do they call it, sissies?
Unless you go to King speakers,
Yeah.
they deal with people with social anxiety and stutters.
I'm a member there, of course.
Oh, okay.
Everyone knows Alex there.
I've been there.
I go there.
Just-
I forgot my icebreaker speech on the 26th of
Yeah.
November.
I'll go watch it.
I'm just gonna do it spontaneous though.
Just drop my name there and see who shakes.
What I find though is that what separates to Toastmasters and Speaker's Corner, I think, is really things like convenience. It's just more convenient to do Speaker's Corner. There's more variation. You can stay there, and you can. I spent quite some time checking out the other speakers purely because I was interested in what they were talking about. So I think there are more options with Speaker's Corner. That's why I prefer it to Toastmasters, which I find quite limiting. You only get like a few minutes to speak from like an hour of being there, and it's like I'm not there for other people's speech. I'm there for my own speech. Selfishness.
What I would say about Toastmasters is, depending on your confidence, it can be very stressful.
Yes,
For me,
that's true.
first time I went there,
Yeah.
I thought I had it in the bag.
Yeah.
As soon as I left my chair, I felt the fear of speaking. It's like, wait, what's going on here? Adam Maguire, this is easy. But I felt the fear, and I used a slight trick on my name, but I cancelled it. I said my name, but that let me know it's different. It's not all the same.
Yeah, it's
Depends.
for courses it suits some people who maybe have more of a fear of public speaking than others.
I then had a good idea for potential next time we do Speaker's Corner. If we all buy the same book for a play, we could just all of us stand on chairs, all four of us at the same time,
Read it out.
and just read it out, but as dramatically as we can.
That would be good.
It'd be
That's a challenge.
yeah,
Oh.
because it would be good voice projection. You'll definitely have an audience because everybody would be like, "What the hell
That's a challenge.
these guys doing?"
Yeah.
And there's less flexibility in what you can say. So if you're gonna hit a word you're gonna struggle with,
Do it.
you gotta hammer it.
So, on the subject of self-acceptance, Alex, get us started. What are we
Yeah.
talking about?
So, well, first of all, like I've heard about self-acceptance, but I really only started paying attention to it when Maguire people told me. And we talk Maguire here. Maguire is one of the best stuttering treatments that helps. Just for everyone. Yeah. So, and we all clients there. Maguire helped us. So yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Given that it's something which demands money from us.
No. Thank you for taking my money for that. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone.
Maguire works.
Yeah, and so yeah, when we say Maguire, we mean good. So I only start self-actualize at Maguire, and the way Maguire course explained it to us, it's two circles. That one circle is our perception to ourselves, and other circle is how people see us really. So it looks like this. I don't know.
There you go.
So see, two circles are and this is how I understood it first, really. But the more I read about it, like my understanding kind of expanded now. So I want to know like
Our opinions.
how you guys see self-actualization, and then we move to.
My view was there's one thing I disagree with the book on. The book is that I don't view self-actualization as how other people see you versus how you see you. I view it as how you see you versus how you actually are.
How do you mean?
Yes,
I agree.
I totally
That
agree. I think it's more
if you
to the point.
yeah, if we stammer is fine. In your mind, if you think you don't stammer, but then you physically do, that means you're not self-actualized.
Yes.
It's like if you have one leg missing and you think you have two, that's someone who's not self-actualized.
Okay.
It's
yeah.
just
You're not accepting it.
is
okay.
accepting who you are, and then from that point you can deal with it. Like you can do
Yeah.
if you
self
have
awareness
yeah,
as well as
There's- if you have one leg, you know, going up stairs would be more difficult
Yeah.
unless you have an aid or like a prosthetic limb or whatever, which should help you out. Same as with stammering. Have to do breathing, have to
Yeah.
pause, have to make eye contact. It's just small things to help you on your way.
Yeah.
And you have to
Yeah.
bring those two circles
That's a good way
because
to understand it, actually.
everyone else will only ever see the real you.
Mm.
Yeah.
The only person you can ever truly deceive is yourself.
For me, self-actualization is very simple in the way I view it and believe in it. Self-actualization for me is when I'm with my closest friend or closest loved one. Am I that person everywhere else? If I'm not, I ask myself why, and then I go from there. So, with my closest friend, I'm this crazy, bubbly, mad, exciting person. Someone who uses his voice, someone who speaks what he feels. He's not afraid to voice an opinion. And I'm getting to that stage in other areas of my life, in other situations.
Hmm.
When you self-actualize, you stop caring what other people think. And once you literally stop caring what other people think, you will make decisions, the right decisions that make you happy and allow you to do the things you really want to do. To get to that stage is very difficult. I found that route through my speech. Once I accepted my stammer, by stammering on purpose, literally everywhere. I'm not doing it now, but literally I stammer on purpose on every third word when I'm talking to strangers or in public. And doing that reminded me I stammer. And suddenly one day I stopped caring that I stammered. And that just bled into other areas of my life. So, I like cartoons now. Now I'm not afraid to tell people I like cartoons. I'm not afraid to watch anime on my tablet on the tube next to people in suits. You might judge me. What's this big black guy watching kids programs? I don't care. I'm watching it because I enjoy it. So through my speech, I've evolved as a person overall. So that for me is self-actualization. When you can be yourself everywhere, 100%, which is possible if you're assertive with it and don't hold back.
I have a question now. The way you described it. So, goal is to stop war and stop to paying attention. And I think there are two ways to get there. One way is to build up your confidence, and I think it's what you did in your case.
Through my speech.
Your confidence went up. Bam! You opened this laptop on YouTube, right?
Yes.
In other case, maybe in my case, my confidence might be still like on the bottom, but I'm so tired of it. I don't give a M anymore. With my zero confidence, I open and I watch anime. So
Really?
is it possible, like, is it even possible to not care and
Still
I think it is, and have no confidence?
I don't know.
complicated
Well, I
question.
think, well, no, because I think in a way that's just when you despair of life.
You're
Yeah.
panicking.
No, because I think
despair is a
despair
good
is
one.
more of a thing where you just don't care, and if you got run over, you don't really care.
Yeah.
You aren't the help anyone. Literally, you're just like
Floating through life.
yeah.
So it's not a
That's
good
right.
place to be.
Yeah, I think.
You're not self-actualized. You just hate yourself.
Well, no,
basically.
It's
well, no, because
apathy, isn't it?
you might be
Yeah.
self-actualized, and you might think, well,
Okay.
I as a self am a lazy, pathetic person, and you look to your life and you've kind of deducted that that's all you've really come
Yeah.
to.
But
So it depends
But
There is
self-actualization.
a huge-
what self you choose.
But
choose, I suppose.
self-actualization. If you look at Maslow's triangle, that's what it means, and that's not self-actualization. That's just depression.
Yeah.
That's just depression.
Yeah, that's true.
You have
That's
to
just depression.
separate the two.
Yeah, that's just depression.
I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there
I ain't
several
We've
gone
all
times.
been there, all been there, guys.
I ain't going
Yeah.
back.
Pretty depressed at one
How
point in our lives.
Yeah, I actually want to expand on what you said, this helplessness and losing hope and desperation. It actually, okay, how about we read? We do Wikipedia. Okay, guest, do us an honor. Read as much as you want.
Okay.
You can
Whatever you
jump
think's relevant.
wherever you like. When you don't like it anymore, stop reading.
Self-actualization is a term that has been used in various psychology theories, often in slightly different ways. The term was originally introduced by the orgasmic theorist Kurt Goldstein
Organismic.
Oh, goodness me.
for the motive to realize one's full
Orgasmic.
potential, expressing one's creativity, quest for spiritual enlightenment, pursuit of knowledge, and the desire to give to and or positively transform society. Examples of self-actualization is the orgasmic master motive, whatever that means.
Organisms.
Organismic.
Orgasmic master
Oh.
motive.
Organisms.
Organisms.
Organisms master motive, excuse me.
First time lucky.
The only real motive, the tendency to actualize itself as fully as possible in the basic drive, the drive of self-actualization. I'm a bit muddled with that.
Shall we run another
You're doing good.
run through?
Carl Rogers similarly wrote of the curative force of psychotherapy, man's tendency to actualize himself.
Curative. The curative force.
Curative force of psychotherapy.
Force in.
Forcing psychotherapy, man's tendency to actualize himself, to become his potentialities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. To express and activate all the capacities of the organism.
And here is another
Me.
definition you read.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, just this black one.
The theory of self-actualization touches on an abiding theme of human existence, the quest for material, emotional and spiritual fulfillment, and an intense yearning to fulfill one's potential.
Right, and we have our Bible have a few words to say on the subject as well.
Amen.
Yeah, it's a page 78. So I will read it as it is. Eloquence and self-actualization. The goal of Maguire program, as already stated, is articulated eloquence. We shown you what to do to become articulate. Now let's get into eloquence. And eloquence starts with self-actualization. And yeah, so this is usually a lifelong process, blah blah blah, positive person, self-awareness, etc. So Maguire doesn't give us a clear meaning for a reason, but I think it's clear
I
now.
think it's saying once you self-actualize, you're striving for your full potential. As a byproduct, you're going to be eloquent because your full potential is you being expressive,
Absolutely
using body
right.
language, being yourself. That's eloquence, speech-wise. Maybe.
As self-actualization is a journey we've all undertaken, and I don't think, to be fair, any of us has reached the end of this journey. We're all somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Various
say
points.
It's an A to B
Yeah.
journey. I think it's something where you either are roughly self-actualized or you're not. Like I'm sure people who are very self-actualized could any point leave that
Yeah.
part of their life and become unself-actualized.
My
It's less of a journey, it's more of a state of mind.
the thing I was trying to lead on to as carefully
I'm
as I
sorry,
could, was how has everyone gone about starting that journey or progressing with that journey if they've had to do a U-turn halfway through or a loop-the-loop? Because
For me, my journey started through my speech. Well, once I accepted myself as a stammerer, life became easy. I started to accept myself as an anime watcher, as someone who likes to cycle, someone who loves table tennis, plays chess, someone who likes to talk to people. It started to bleed into other areas of my life. And through that, I've become more self-actualized, more focused. And when you become more self-actualized, you begin to wonder about your life purpose, how you can reach your full potential.
do you think that you would have otherwise become, or how would, do you think, or do you feel you would have started to become more self-actualized if you had another area which triggered it instead of speech?
To be honest, my speech was the major thing holding me back from being the person I wanted to be. I couldn't even start the process because I couldn't speak. So I could never even try. I was hopeless. Literally couldn't try.
Yep.
Yeah,
I can relate
no
to that.
chance.
The speech does go back to almost the very core of your being, and it's like if that very kind of first layer is blocked, it's difficult. Not impossible, but it's harder to achieve a lot of things in life.
In many ways, are probably you know, you have that triangle of needs, which is like have water, food, then like one of those.
Sense of belonging, community.
Yeah, I think you would lack those other higher levels if you can't communicate.
Communicate.
It is part of the foundations.
Yeah, basic needs, having a community. If you can't function in a community because you can't talk, how can you reach those higher levels like you say?
And the result of that, as I've been reading in a book, I mean, is it now a good time to reference the book I've been reading? I mean,
Always a good time to do everything.
Best time for everything is now.
Everything. Everything.
Literally everything. Well,
So what do you say about
it's technically
people?
last week,
So what do you
but
say about people who just conquer stammering
Next
without
best
any technique? Who just can stutter uncontrollably but are happy?
I think
Are they
That's
so
more
I'm
about,
amazed
that's more
by
about
those
temperaments
people.
often.
But I think that's the type of person I aspire to be. I know,
But the way
as a
of
Maguire
being there-
person, it isn't a good goal to have, but
I think it's a very reasonable goal to have. I just think I've got no idea how you would achieve that apart from being like, I'm okay with it. But
basically you just get really lazy but not care.
but how do you not care?
Is that depression?
That's the thing.
No, as in
That's
you
just
have-
not caring.
What's the book you're talking
Anyway, I'll segue the book. So the book, if I can adjust the exposure sufficiently, it's really hard because there's like lots of torches. But
about? I can hold it for you.
wait, here, and if you zoom in, it will
you
say
make a picture, you zoom in. Yeah, it's okay.
why I called my sister Harry. The book is written by a guy called Michael O'Shea, who is a Maguire course instructor. And the book is essentially like kind of like an autobiographical work about his speech. It goes all the way back from when he first realised he had a speech, his trouble in childhood. He was raised in a very Catholic school in the 60s where if you stammered you get beaten, as he was, and it's just basically depicting in many ways quite a common Maguire journey of you know, you kind of go through life just about doing it, hopping from the next disaster to the next. Then eventually you find Maguire, it's a bit rocky in parts, nothing's perfect at the start, but eventually after many years you get to really understand the technique properly, and he becomes a course instructor. And what he writes about most importantly, I think, is stammering and suicide, which is obviously an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but I think it's something which
One thing that helped me start the journey of self-actualization was to tell the world how I felt about stammering. Tell the world I felt like killing myself. I was gonna jump in front of a train or take 16 paracetamol pills, which wouldn't have killed me, but that was the intention. So once I did that, told the world, did an article, that lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders, and that
tension was
that
like go for
yeah,
it.
that kickstarted me on my road to self-actualization, to accept it.
It's a no, yeah. So the suicide chapter, he talks about a chat he's having with I think it's a speech language pathologist or someone to do with disabilities, and the speech language pathologist says, well, the reason why we don't have much research being done into stammering is because, unlike other conditions, stammering can't kill. And that's where Michael O'Shea here pipes up saying, well, that's where you're wrong, because people who stammer are more likely than other disabled people to kill themselves, and that is a verified stat.
The way
It's a known. I'm sorry, dude. It's a known fact that highest rated suicidal group is stuttering people. I mean, it's official. We are on the top of the building.
Achievement.
I don't think that's
Well,
an achievement.
Gold.
On the top of the building, about to jump.
I always say a blind person, someone in a wheelchair, or a deaf person can still communicate and still rise. They can still become managers. They can still delegate. They can still control projects. They can rise. But if you're a stammerer and you can't literally speak, you're confined.
trapped.
You're trapped. You're
Yeah.
confined to work in a warehouse possibly. If you let your stammer affect you.
Yeah, it's more you get trapped in your own in yourself. But because I think from my many years of talking with randomers in public, no one genuinely cares if you have a stammer or not, because they all just want to hear what you have to say. It's normally you who has the
Definitely.
issue with the stammer.
I agree.
And then
Definitely.
like you will obviously have the odd few, but like it's like less than 1% of the population will give a negative response.
Well, I hate to say that, but that is actually in some ways probably quite a cultural thing. And
Yeah,
if you would
that's
go
true.
to
China.
different countries, China, which verifiably has no speech language pathologist, let alone a Maguire program,
Africa's bad as well.
because in China to have a stammer is so shameful.
Yeah.
Even to see help would be to acknowledge that you have a stammer. So I think this is actually quite, in some ways, a cultural thing. And if we were to go to China, I think we'd have a very different experience.
Africa is just as bad. They have no concept of the understanding of stammering. They just think you're cursed
Yeah.
or there's a demon inside you. Seriously,
Russia is
it's bad.
the same way. We're so in the darkness about stammering. There are a few like people there who kind of understands. Dashbayev is a good dude. Everyone else can, I think. Yeah, well, and I wanted to. Shit, this dick so. I need to gather my thoughts.
Formulate.
Center and clarify.
Center and
Oh,
clarify.
I got
Take
it.
time.
I got it. Thank you very much. It's all I needed. Stuttering is not easy to accept, and the reason I know I saw a lot of YouTube videos about acceptance, and people who have stutter and something else like stutter and everyone tells that everything else is easier to accept. Like being gay is easy to accept. To have no fingers on your hands. It's easier to accept. And I think the reason is that we people, when we start, it surprises me every time. I have no idea
Yeah.
what's going on. I so not expected it to come in the middle of my speech. I don't think like
It's
that.
the unknown.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, and when you don't really know what's up with you, I always thought that it was my psychological problem. That many people think that
Mm.
it's proven to not to be the case. Is just our genes. Yeah.
So, when I initially started speaking, so like when I was like in age 2, I'd always, I pretty much learned to speak when I learned to stammer. But that meant my view of stammering, it wasn't that I was the weird one, is that I couldn't understand how everyone else could speak fluently.
That's
Because
a
I was
very
like,
good point.
how are these people
Yeah.
managing to speak spontaneously? Like, they don't seem to put in any effort.
I
I'm
would
like, I
watch
would
TV
be
and
like
think,
them.
wow, these people are speaking so fast. How?
Yeah.
I do
And get
recall-
pissed off.
Because I'm like, I can't.
I do recall for fairly recently I was actually undergoing quite a bad bout of stammering.
Mm.
This is before I went on the ITB London course. I was in New York with my girlfriend,
Mm.
and I was not doing particularly well on one day. The rest of the time I was actually doing very well, but on one day I was doing very badly, and I couldn't fathom how to speak fluently. And I encountered a guy in a club who was rolling on Mandy, and he was the most like fluent person, not just in his speech, but also in like his bodily function. He was just like lazy about like in a fluid way. And I looked at him and I thought, that is like the most amazing thing that I could possibly see, is this person who for like conversation just pick up the phone like, hey, what's going on, man? Everything's like so fluid.
Mm.
That's why I realised that the ways to stammering is where it's like the whole thing is stuttering, not just my speech. Like I feel in every way a stutterer.
Mm.
While this guy is in every way a fluent person.
Yeah.
And obviously it's been induced through taking drugs, but still,
It doesn't
looking
have
at
to be induced.
it doesn't. It
through
doesn't.
taking
But to just look at that was like an amazing thing, and it made me really realise how fluency is such like an incredible thing, full stop, and
Mm.
how valuable it is.
Mm.
And not necessarily fluency, because that makes people who stutter sound bad, but as in I just realised that it was such an amazing thing.
Mm.
So
I think
could-
what you mean
say.
is that the ability to be relaxed while you speak
Yes.
is an amazing thing.
Yeah,
Fluent or not, because no
Yeah.
one's truly fluent, but just
that's true.
not having
he
all
was.
that. Well, he,
For that short time. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
But-
yeah. It was,
Hitler was
words
very
up.
fluent in his speeches,
Mm.
but was he that commanding, that powerful in day-to-day life?
Mm. It is easy to be better if it's just a short performance. I think just being relaxed when you speak is, I think, what the key is. That's like the
Mm.
whole being relaxed thing is what I mean by you're self-actualized.
You don't
Like,
care, you're happy, you're just
yeah,
who
it's-
you are.
You are you, chilled out. You're like, if they accept me, it's grand. If they don't, I don't really care. You're like,
Yeah, that's a
I'm
very
gonna.
hard place to get
Yeah,
to, bro.
it's taken me 12 years, and
One thing I really should say about this is the factor of time. I know that you can self-actualize in weeks or months or in days through kind of repeated efforts, but I don't think people realise the impact of time that for most people, that for the majority of the population, self-actualization occurs through time. And the
yeah,
fact
it's
that
true.
when you're between the age of like 9 and I think 24 even, you aren't quite so self-actualized. You're still very much a sensitive soul, partly I think because you're still shaping your identity.
Yep.
And so self-actualization is like a lot harder, at least that's my perception, than someone who's 30 where they know because they've got 30 years life experience
Definitely.
what they're like, as
Yeah.
opposed to, oh, I could change because I have the ability to, and I'm not sure whether I might grow into a different person. I'm not, I've still got growing time. All these things can change while you're still growing. So it's very difficult when you're young, though I think when you're older.
Yeah.
So in many ways it is a time-based
Yep,
phenomenon.
correct. Also,
Phenomenon.
brain development wise, you don't fully form your adult brain until age 25.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a lot longer than the law has said, because the law presumes you're an adult age 18. That is not the case. About 7
Wow.
years later,
You
you
see, I
actually
agree.
your brain has cemented
Yeah.
how it will look for the rest of your life.
And you start to lose brain cells from there
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I've long passed that. But the main thing is, the whole time thing is true, that when you're younger, your identity is what you do. Then as you get older, especially with stammers, we carry the identity of I have a stammer with us. When the way to get self-actualized is to say, I am not my stammer, but my stammer
It's
is
part of
a
me.
part of me. Like, it flips around, as opposed to saying, I am a stammerer, I am who I am because I stammer. It's flipping around to say, I am who I am, plus every now and again I stammer.
A good example of that is when you go to an interview, you don't say, "Oh, I've got a stammer, but it's okay. I've dealt with it. I'm in control." You say, "I've got a stammer, and because of that, I can do X, Y, and Z. I can do public speaking. I can do this. I'm really assertive. I get what I want."
Turn it into a benefit rather
Yeah.
than just.
That's
Oh,
exactly what you're
it's a
saying.
very negative thing to have,
Yeah.
Having
but
a-
it's okay.
It's
Yeah.
having a stammer has made me into this
Yeah.
confident person you see before you. Now give me the job.
I end up telling people I have a stammer. It might take me a bit longer to say the stuff, so just hang around.
There's a pickup artist in Canada
Yeah.
who picks up women, I presume. Not men, I don't know, but
He's
through
their own.
each their own.
Which is also okay.
Yeah, that's also okay.
Yeah, self-actualized.
Yeah, no.
So you can pick up guys.
No. I mean,
Complete the story.
maybe he's gay. I don't know. But anyway, he picks up human beings
Yeah.
With a stammer.
with a stammer, and how he does it is, first of all, he's like, "Hey girls, I have a stammer, and if I could possibly have like a moment of your time,"
Yeah.
and
It works.
it turns into a
Yeah.
bit more than a moment of their time. Believe
Yeah.
me.
No wonder the security guard. I think it was with one of you in Westfield in Shepherd's Bush. The security guard came up to us and wanted to kick us out because
Probably.
we were
Oh,
talking to
yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
With the microphones as well.
Might have been. That might have been a different
No.
time.
Yeah, no.
There were
Actually,
numerous
that-
incidences
Yeah, no.
where we nearly got kicked
They
out.
thought
'cause-
that we were picking on
Ye-
women just
yeah,
because
yeah.
we wanted to pick them up, and it's
And-
like, well, I mean,
No,
there is.
we just
So
was
what's the
talking
next
to
point of
everybody.
the self-actualization?
Sorry.
I think that as people who start, we have those few subjects we react most sensitively. So, in a way, we can't really compare ourselves, like to fluent people, because for a fluent person to become self-actualized is to realize that he was born as a firefighter and he works at the police
Yeah.
department, right? For people who start, first we have to do steps
It's two stages.
to get
Yeah.
to the point where we can really see like what we were born to do.
And
I
what we
mean,
can-
we're not
can
like,
do.
I mean, right now, in all my life, I was avoiding everything, right? And I avoided it to a point that I think I lost myself, like somewhere behind, always saying no, no, no. So now I have to say yes as twice as anyone else to get there. And so self-actualization, eye contact, for person who started, eye contact is a special
Yeah,
topic.
that's so hard.
If a fluent person avoids eye contact, I'm not holding it against him. I'm not.
Yeah.
when I avoid eye contact, I don't know, is it a stutter or is it any other reasons? But because I stutter, my answer yes. You avoid it because of stutter. You have to overcome that, and we dif-
What I do to practice self-actualization is, I know it sounds cheesy, but it really works. Just do what you fear the most every day. If you encounter something or someone and you feel the fear, you have to do it. And that will push you along self-actualization because you really want to do it. That's why you're scared.
Mm.
yeah.
So use the fear as a weapon to tell you, I have to do it. And that's how you push yourself. And as a byproduct, you will get more confident in
Yeah.
every other area of your life because you're being more assertive.
Yeah.
My strategy was to, you go through these phases of having loads of slightly crazy ideas. Like you want to start this, you want to do this, you want to do blah blah blah.
Mhm.
My rule was whatever the first thing on the list is, I'll figure out how to do it. I might or might not like it, but I will do it at least once. And then you just hammer your way through the list. And you sort of, it's a bit like going on a date with yourself. It's a chance to get to know what actually makes you tick, but to understand yourself on the intellectual level. Like, to sort of, because if it's something you really want to do, you'll be more excited about it. And if you know it is something you would like to do, it makes life easier to figure out what stuff to say yes to, and to know what stuff you're gonna hate, irrespective of what.
So what do you guys do to self-accept? How do you guys self-accept little by little? Or how do you develop your path?
Well, for me, self-accept principally comes from doing deliberate disfluency. I think it's the same with you, Ayo, where I think deliberate disfluency is just like, I am gonna keep on stammering, but rather than it being out of control and unpredictable, I know when I'm gonna stammer, and that makes life so much easier. Because the whole thing which I think stammering makes it difficult is that it makes things unpredictable, and every situation is like, what's going to happen next? I can now go into a situation, ideally, and realise that I can now plot what's going to happen. I can think ahead more clearly. I'm less stressed.
I always stammer the most when I'm most confident. When I'm at the peak of my confidence, I use the DD to the extreme. And when I'm less confident, it's easier to use DD, which Maguire teaches anyway. But you have to really push it to the extreme if you want to conquer stammering in the most efficient time. Like 10 block releases, 30-second hit and hold. I'm telling you, it sounds silly, but it works, man.
It is true.
You gotta make it so hard, make it so
Desensitise.
awkward. Like, oh, we're gonna walk away. You gotta do it.
Go hard or go home.
That's how I spent several years of Maguire, because I reached a point of being really in control, and then contacts got really boring. So I was just spending all my contacts doing the most awkward contacts
stuff,
I could possibly do.
And it makes you more confident.
Tom and I just came up with a catchphrase for it, which was "embrace the awkwardness." And then we just
You have to.
go around, we
Interesting.
just go around and like do as many hit and holds
It's hard though.
in a row
Be fine
as
being
we
a
possibly
weirdo.
can.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that all evening we're discussing only psychological techniques like DD? It's psychological.
It is.
It's not technical.
Mm.
And then self-acceptance, psychological technique to get there. So I think we should all pat ourselves like good on being in a denial that we are in a good use of physical techniques.
Yeah. But I think.
I mean,
mm,
I feel that I'm already above physical shit. That
yeah.
I need to
Tackle the.
to
Mm,
trick my mind now,
Mm.
not to trick my body
Mm.
anymore.
because we all know the physical technique.
Yeah.
So it's more to it than the physical because we all know it perfectly.
Sometimes we
Though-
don't even want to use physical techniques. We want to go straight to psychological.
So I will say that there is a physical element which we cannot forget, because a very often thing that happens to stammerers, especially on the Maguire program, is they become very anxious. I'm actually not even that, just they're my main point of reference, where their chest becomes so tight and strained
Mhm.
that the physical side is blocked. And that's actually, sorry, I think I'm right there, but that's where the psychological side can override it,
Yes.
because although you could be doing breathing warm-ups, you could be doing really good hitting holes and stuff with your family, if you don't have the psychological backdrop to just lift the tension off you,
Yeah.
you will constantly struggle with physical.
Which is apparently 90% of the problem.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the
Apparently.
underneath the iceberg, or I think a better reference is the underneath of the mushroom. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but like a mushroom is like an iceberg, where the mushroom caps you see are like that much, and the rest is like
Yeah.
enormous
Mm.
blob of spores underground.
So the biggest organism on Earth.
Yeah,
Is-
it's one of, I think,
Is it?
one
Only-
mushroom.
the mushroom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
Only
It's
one iceberg self-actualized, the one who hit Titanic. It's, like the only one probably who fulfilled the purpose of life.
It's funny because I use the physical as an extension of DD, like the block releases, hit and holds. The
Otherwise,
physical
it's just
techniques.
impossible.
Mm.
I use that part of DD, but they do help physically.
Combination, it's a combination.
Yeah,
The,
they definitely help.
there is, I view as like once you've mastered and worked hard on the physical side and then the psychological side, then there's the step further to become really self-actualized,
Mm.
which is you don't have to trick yourself anymore. You're like, meh,
Yes.
gonna
Yes.
stammer or not, I don't really
Yes.
care.
That's very hard to get to.
Yes.
Lifelong journey.
That's for me anyway. That's the reason I've been avoiding all the courses, because I find it hard to bring the Maguire wall and my wall together. The only way to do it is to just avoid one or the other,
Mm.
and to try and weave it in. It turns out weaving in is a very slow way of doing it.
Dude, you obviously avoiding it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So-
it's another one.
It's lucky you just caught yourself avoiding something
Yeah.
clearly, so you can overkill it.
The reason I avoid the courses was because of that.
Understand?
Because the courses have a particular mentality to them. But the reason I was running Contact so long
Yes,
was
yes, you were thinking.
because I like the Contacts environment,
Mm.
but I like it being closer to how you actually would interact with people. So just walking around asking people where stuff is with as much DD as you can,
Mm.
that is, I'm fine with that, but aiming just to do it for sheer number and number alone doesn't help as much.
No.
Because you have to make it so awkward for yourself.
Mm.
You want to stammer because it will make life much easier,
Easier.
but you have to resist that urge as well to nail it properly.
An importance to study which might change your opinion on going to Maguire is that
Oh,
I know what you're gonna say.
is this about the alcoholism stuff?
Well, the support.
Yeah,
Being a
so
stammerer
yeah,
is-
yeah, yeah.
It goes
So
hand in hand with everything.
it does, But
Yeah.
what is repeatedly shown by studies is that support groups are the most effective form of the therapy.
It's true, yeah.
And so if you really want to tackle it, you have to just constantly see other people. You don't see speech language therapists,
Yeah.
because they've been proven to be really kind of ineffective. You
Yeah.
have to go, I think, to basically just hang out with
Yeah,
you
that's-
guys and Stammer's and just be around these people.
That's
I've tried it. Before I had any techniques, and I met people who started on numerous therapists I went to. I
It didn't help you.
I couldn't communicate with them. I didn't want to. I had no tools. I mean,
That's why the
Yes.
Maguire
give me
thing
like
was.
one tool, and then maybe I
Yeah.
can expand
Mm.
from it. I had nothing.
That's what
Yeah.
happens with the BSA London support group, which actually we can now talk about.
Yeah, we've been there.
Perfect.
I
So,
need to go.
shall I just explain what happened?
Do we have 5 minutes of your time, maybe? And we'll
Yeah, we've got 5
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah, it's 5
4
minutes.
maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see
So,
it.
basically, me and Alex went recently to the BSA London support group, which is hosted in the UCL building. I'm sure if you looked it up online, you could find it with relative
Good
ease.
people. Everyone go there.
Is it
Everyone
on?
go there.
Which
But-
day is it generally on?
It's usually the first Wednesday of every month.
Yes.
And basically, what separates it? There's a guy coming out. I'm not sure what he's doing.
Video stopped.
Don't worry
Wait.
about the guy.
No,
Okay.
no. That's low battery.
It's okay. We're good. We're still
Anyway,
rolling.
so basically, we went to the BSA London support group. Everyone in it doesn't use any kind of technique. It's simply a therapeutic support group. So no one is encouraged to use anything, and it's definitely a complete opposite of Maguire. In that, I've been a few more times than you've been, Alex, and I found often I come away from it feeling worse. but then in the subsequent days I feel okay.
Yeah.
But it's like the first hour I'm just like, oh god, this is quite depressing, because most of the people's stories and chat is about kind of why everything's a bit rubbish.
Dude, are you
Yeah.
serious? I was never as fluent after the support group.
Really?
I came
Everything
out like
differently.
I thought, holy moly, like nothing can make me stutter.
Yeah.
Like, it hit me with a train right now. I'll be still like talking smooth. Like,
I
had
don't
the
know why,
opposite,
but I
reaction.
felt differently about it. I
Wow.
think it's, and that said, it has varied on the particular support groups, but I think it's because it's not as friendly as
Really?
Maguire's. So people
Maguire's
don't.
army.
Yes, so it's an army, so you can hang around and chat. With
Yeah.
the BSA one, you just, when it all ends, you just go. You don't chat to other
Yeah.
people.
Really?
I
They
think
That's what's
stayed
happening.
in chat. No. They
We
stayed.
did
Yeah.
this time, but
really?
regularly it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like it's like maximum 3 of us to stay around and chat about science.
That
That's
was me before therapy. I would run from there.
Yeah.
I would talk
Yeah,
to
yeah.
nobody
Why?
because I was out of control,
Control.
avoiding everything in a swamp deeper than
You was in
You were
hell,
in the
basically.
swamp.
Yes.
You were like
Center of the
subterranean.
earth.
well underground.
The swamp would be a
I
great
I was
place to be.
You're hanging with the Ninja Turtles.
Like it's I think it's a special people who can come out of a starter or improve it by themselves, like
Psychological origin.
geniuses
Yeah.
like Harrison, like Maguire, like those guys. Me, I don't have enough.
Same.
I need guidance.
I
I need
need
to
Yes,
learn.
I
we all
need
need
support,
study.
we all need support.
I need technical, and then technical would be never enough for me. I need to put psychological stuff on it, and make this sandwich and check like once in a while if all ingredients are fresh. Seriously, and it spoils.
Support group really is, I think, the most. But did I say
Yeah.
the study, or was it kind of?
You had an alcoholism comment.
Oh yeah.
But
Listen,
I
2
agree that
minutes, one.
support group overall is the best treatment, but it works best if the people you meet in the support group you have a relationship outside of support
Yes,
group as well,
yes.
like people you call up,
Mm.
just have a chat with. So it's a network as opposed to a place where you meet.
That's why Maguire works.
Mm.
Maguire network
Yeah,
is the best out there.
it is true.
Well, it's the biggest.
Yeah,
It's just the
Biggest
best,
and best.
network, is the best kind of people, the best kind of coaches,
Mhm.
the most amount, and people really want to help. I just want to make sure that I love Maguire,
We
I s-
all love
I
love
starter.
Maguire.
yeah.
and I love Maguire.
Maguire has its shortcomings, but I think of the available for therapies, of everything, it offers the best. I think mainly for the network.
On that
And
note,
and also
Yeah.
for the friends we get. I think
Yeah,
that's
thank
that's
you
the
very
main
much.
thing that
Yeah.
you get from Maguire. You get a language to talk in,
mm,
and you get a lot of friends.
that should bring us nicely on, because making friends involves
Yes.
alcohol.
It does.
So, what's your
Which
study
we
on?
already
alcoholism?
discussed on our podcast number 4, so
Oh yeah,
We did.
that's
check
true.
it out. Shall we?
Call it quits.
Okay.
Cool.
Ayo Adesanya. Bye for now.
Eugene Wasowski Gallagher. Bye for now.
Tom Wheeler. Bye for now.
Finding Voices podcast. Thank you very much, special guest. Please come back and talk more to us.
Mm.
Definitely.
Everyone, Alex was here. Bye for now.